Hello everyone, my name is Michael, or also known as Tronic MC 2015. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I usually don't do this kind of stuff, but then again, I'm also not exactly well enough known as a story writer. So, let's go ahead and get started today. I figured I've been writing this for a couple months now, and I kind of want to see how the public eye sees it. Officially, I've been writing a story by the name Universal. It's a superhero story, but not of the normal variety. Most people, when they think of a superhero story, they think of, I don't know, the origin story, how they became a superhero, picking up and seeing them fight bad guys. That's not the kind of story I want to take here. The story I'm wanting to take here is more of the perspective of someone outside of the superhero loop. So, kind of imagine it like if you were telling Superman's story, you're not telling it from Superman's perspective. You're not telling it from the Kryptonian who was sent away from their planet and it grows up on Earth. You're not finding out about this information straight out of the get-go. You're not finding out about the backstory, how they form into the superhero they become. You're learning this as if you're the best friend or lover of the superhero. So, like I said, Superman's perspective. Imagine like you have Lois Lane telling the story, or James Olsen telling the story. For those of you who don't know Superman, essentially speaking, James Olsen, it comes along later in the story, is Clark Kent, aka Superman's best friend, and he gets to know the story after the fact. Same goes with Lois Lane. Lois Lane is his lover, and she kind of gets to learn about him through the same means. She becomes a love interest of Superman or Clark Kent or Kal-El, however you want to know him. That's kind of the story I want to tell. I want to tell it from a different perspective. I want to tell about the superhero as if you're learning about it from the reader's perspective. So the name of the story is Universal. My name is Michael Eldridge. Let's get into the story. Fair warning though, I will say I'm reading this and I'm not going to be editing the clip, so you guys will probably hear me mess up quite a few times. So fair warning about that. This is raw, unedited uh, audio, so please just bear with me, okay? Anyway, guys, so let's get started. Chapter 1. Enter the Secret Hero. I used to believe that a superhero had a defined set of rules to follow. A few powers, had to deal with the emotions of a split life. However, the one thing that I always thought was set in stone was that a superhero only ever had one person or persona behind the mask, or one mask for a person. In my life, I've seen multiple heroes doing good deeds. Strength, the one that can throw the earth with his incredible strength, always dresses in dark and unflashy clothes. Rage, peaceful until angered. When angered, becomes a force to be reckoned with. Always dresses lightly because of the sheer loss of clothes. Terror, not the sanest of the bunch, but always tries to do right. Doesn't typically seem to care what they're wearing at the time. Deathstalker, powerful martial artist, with gadgets and trinkets to get the job done, not unlike some people's favorite Dark Knight. Always dresses with dark clothes, but the way it looks like chainmail armor, but more refined. Then there's Renegade, the armored genius who thinks and calculates every move nanoseconds before making them. Not exactly well known what's inside the armor, but nobody's ever seen them. Anyway, there were many others to list for later. Now, where were we? Oh, right. Something would always stand out to me. I could never shake the feeling, despite what my eyes and ears told me, that I was always seeing the same person among all of them. One day, a hero of which was almost a god, practically dressed like one too, saved me after I clumsily slipped and fell off a ledge of the Empire State Building. My friends and I were visiting for the day. Anyway, the hero is known as Universal. After he saved me, I confronted him and asked, Why do I always get the distinct feeling, no matter the hero I'm looking at? I feel as though I'm looking at one person among all of them. He looked at me with a smile as he flew off. Only days later, random, seemingly normal guy walks up to me and asks, "Would you like to know the truth?" As I felt the same feeling of looking at this, ugh. As I felt that same feeling of looking at the same person, I reluctantly said yes. He then grabbed my hand. Next thing I knew, we were on top of the Statue of Liberty inside the torch, which, mind you, hasn't been open for years. This man, then in a bright flash of light, suddenly changed into a dazzling young woman with elegantly thick and wavy blonde hair, and her eyes were as beautiful as the sky itself. She scared me half to death and took me by surprise from her looks. As I calmed down, still trying to take in what sight I had just seen, I asked, "Who are you?" This person sat me down and said, "I am all." "All?" I repeated. She then told me she was all of the heroes. I, with a lot of curiosity, asked, "Why the male forms?" "Why not the male forms?" she joked. But she quickly calmed her face and began to seriously state, "What happens if Spider-Man's mask was removed? It would reveal a young Peter Parker for all to exploit. Targets would be painted on his family and closest friends' backs. He would be made vulnerable." It was then that I realized there was more to this individual than just a beautiful young woman with powers. She continued, "I realized that if I was ever bested in a fight, I don't want any of my closest loved ones to become involved. I decided with the extent of my powers, I should shield them by not allowing them to know." At this point, I was somehow at a loss of words. I didn't know what to say or how to react. She then proceeded with a conversation, taking in what she had just told me. I then realized she had told me her secret before she had told anyone else. So I asked, "Why did you decide to tell me, of all people, not to mention a practical stranger, your secret?" She smiled with a little twinkle in her eye, and said, "Because in the few years I've been doing this, you are the only one that has been able to sense something off of me, no matter which hero I am at the time. Not to mention, you've got a good heart." I was calmed down enough to where I thought to ask her name. Before I could, I realized I was back in the place she took me from, and she was nowhere to be found. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Answers. A few days had passed, and I hadn't seen that girl again. At least not as herself or Universal. I saw every other hero of hers, as well as some new ones. There was the first female, Nebulous, speedster, who wears a bright pink suit, and another female, Nikela, a very stretchy and flexible female hero who dresses in bright purple spandex, to name a couple. Anyway, after about a week, she approached me as herself. It surprised me to a high enough extent that she had asked, "What's wrong? It looks like you just saw a ghost." Me, being as shocked as I was, didn't know how to react. "Let's go talk over something to eat. I'll pay," she said. I, still trying to regain my sanity, say, "Okay, I'll tag along." She was quick to respond, "Oh, come on. You'll get the chance to know more about me. After all, I had to cut our last meeting short. Oh, that reminds me. Sorry about that, by the way. I had some stuff that took precedence." I quickly snapped to my senses and quickly, almost frantically, said, "What are we waiting for? Let's go." She grabbed my hand and said, "Hold on." I saw a bright flash of light surround me, and then it looked like we were inside a diner. I began to freak out because, to my perception, I had just poofed into a public area. "What are you worried for?" she said, almost making me think she really doesn't hide her secret identity. She continues to explain, "As far as everyone around is concerned, we simply just walked in like normal people." I was once again confused. I couldn't yet understand how no one saw us seemingly just poof into the Steiner. This girl's powers, their origin, how they work, their limits, I knew next to nothing about them. We proceeded to get a table and order. She told me to order what I want and to not worry about being humble. So we ordered our drinks and our meals. I was more interested in my newfound friend than I was my meal, so I just got a burger and fries. Nothing too fancy. After that, she began to try to start explaining with a subtle start. "So aren't you curious?" Still trying to understand her, I, with a lot of enthusiasm, and without any hesitation, say, "I have so many questions. Where are you from? How do your powers work? Heck, what even are your powers? What are the limits of your powers, even if there are any?" She smiled with a low giggle. "Well, aren't you enthusiastic? Okay, for starters, let's start with something far simpler. The one thing you were about to ask me as I left the last time. My real name is Alyssa. I was actually born in New Jersey. Moved around a bit over the years. I was shocked at the fact that she had actually just gone as far as she did, revealing herself as much as she had. Alyssa continued. Anyway, my powers, or should I say power, is an easy one as well. It's what's referred to as reality bending. As far as I can tell, there are no true and defined limits to my power. At least, not on the uses. I specifically set my own limitations for my powers. I was even more in shock, and then stopped and realized that really explains a lot. I curiously asked, "What have you set as your limits?" She quickly answered, "For starters, for starters, the most painful one. I can protect someone I care deeply for. I'm sorry. I care someone I care deeply for with discreet action to any extent of my powers. But if I somehow fail to protect someone and they die from my failure, I cannot bring them back unless absolutely necessary." I quickly started to realize that the limitations she had were very complicated and rather difficult to uphold. She continued, "The next is a bit easier. I cannot use my powers to create wealth. I can create items, but within reason. I cannot simply end a life. They have to become a physical threat to at least 1,000 people or more." I, while listening, with so much intent, am starting to understand her. She is more than simply just gifted. She's so smart, wise, and she seems to be more than sweet. She continues, "You asked me the other day why I chose you. I sense so much more from you. I can't just pin it on one reason." After about a couple hours, we finished eating and continued talking as I became more comfortable. After we were done, I thanked her with excitement for the meal and the opportunity. "Oh no, it was my pleasure." She was quick to respond. With so much eagerness, she continued, "We should get together again soon." I agreed, and we both went our separate ways. Alright, so that's all I have written so far for the story. I'd like to hear you guys' opinions. I thank you guys all for listening. For those of you who want to know more about it, you want to keep up on the story, I will try to put it in the description below, and I will let you guys know. I'll let you guys go and look at the story and keep up with it as I write it. If you guys want to see more, want to hear more, want to contribute to the idea, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section, please. And if you guys want, you guys can go ahead and join my Discord as well. You guys can go ahead and communicate with my community in the gaming side, or I have an extra Discord as well, in addition to those two, where you guys can let me know more about the story and try and help out with the story. So as you want a little bit of a sneak peek or a little bit of a kind of an idea of where I plan to go with the story. Chapter 3, I've decided to title First Sign of Trouble. I've barely started to write that, so I'm not going to read that today. But you guys are more than welcome to keep up with the story, keep up with me on Discord. And anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video, thanks for listening to the story, and I hope to see y'all next time. Bye.